Welcome today to our webinar from Mentor We. Today we have a webinar dedicated to money mindset and how to create a really powerful change in your life to get a finance wellness in your life. And this is very important because it's not only for business owners or entrepreneurs as well as for life, and it's not about going to check your bank account, is to give you value, how to translate this self-esteem and this courage to ask for money in a very lovely way and not psycho. So this is very important, and this is a new way of looking at money and looking at how we can get money, which is a good thing to have, but not in a hippie way, not in a psycho way, not in a sad way, but in a very lovely, caring, and impactful for the whole society and the planet. And this is why Blanca Vergara will host the webinar today.
Thank you. Thank you. Delighted to be here. This money subject has found me, and I am delighted to share with you today what I have been, learning, if you wish, creating. Let me start the slideshow in the right page. So, I entitled this presentation, Master Your Money Mindset. Sure. Master Your Money Mindset. So, I just wanted to start with some facts. Have you seen the statistics about the gender pay gap? It's just incredible. You will say that in developed countries, the pay gap will be smaller, but it is not. In the Netherlands, the difference is 20%. We earn 20% less than men for the same job. And this is information of the OECD. So it's really, I think that is quite serious. And it's not that far away from us. For me, a really quite shocking thing is if we continue in the historical trends, how the pay gap is being closed, it will close in 50 years. I ask you to calculate your age plus 50 years, plus 100 years, or 300 years. Look at Germany and Spain. In 300 years from now, they will close the pay gap. Oh, this is really painful. This really hurts me because, of course, it's not just me. It is my daughter. It is my grandchildren. It is, it's every single woman that's coming after all of us. So this doesn't end in the generation. It is something that we have to start considering very seriously. And then take in consideration this calculation. And this is one of the simple ones. When men and women, when we're comparing men and women's behavior, when it comes to retirement, it becomes really bad. Consider the pay gap that is more or less 20% that we are earning less than men. So therefore, our credit score is worse, our number of credit cards is higher, our payment of student loans is less than them, so we end up with more debt than them. We have less in the average rainy day fund, according to this, according to this. And at the end of retirement, men will have more money than we will have. Of course, we also are very cautious, and some women save a lot, but we are so cautious that we take care of ourselves so well that we will end up living longer. What I see is that quite some women in my life have been dying beyond 100. And that means that they don't have their partner anymore. So the man died happily and cared by the wife. And these women died alone without a husband. And in quite some cases, without that much money, because the provider was gone and because the savings were not that big. And obviously, you know that not all the pension funds are that kosher all over the world. That maybe what they are promising that they will be paying you in the future is not precisely what they will be actually paying you. So this is huge. If we don't take care of our financial well-being right now, the impact is going to be gigantic. Take in consideration your age right now. If you are 20, you are in great luck to hear this right now, because one penny that you deposit today with compounded interest will grow exponentially. The difference in age, the difference in depositing and saving your money and compounding that interest over time will have a tremendous impact in your life. If you're 30, you're a bit later. If you're 50, you are much later and you have less time to start saving money and to start taking action. So if you're young, this is a moment to start changing your mindset so that you start changing your actions, so that when you will be 100, because I can almost assure to you that you will be 100, you have enough money in different sorts of investments to take care of your health and your happiness. So now, after the statistics, I ask you, how does this make you feel? What is this? Is a rapper? It's a prostitute. These women mixing sex with money. This is just so dirty, it's filthy, it's just disgusting. What about this? The woman who is pretty and goes shopping and the husband pays everything. How do you feel about that? I have heard so much criticism of women like us, you know, graduates of an MBA, graduates of business school, that we cannot imagine, tolerate, accept women who stay at home and get the money from the husband. And I'm not talking of the prostitute, but what about what do you want to call her? A stay-at-home mom? Gold digger? Lazy, horrible woman? Horrible labels. What about this? This is I don't remember the photo where I took it, from Mexico or from Brazil. I'm Mexican. When you see the skyscrapers, wealth, and you see the slums, the haves, the have-nots. Who is wrong? Who is right? Oh, certainly there is violence and corruptions in the slums. Oh, there is no corruption and violence among the wealthy? Violence, honesty, money. We go back to the concept of the prostitute. And this idea of the filthy old car salesman, we don't want to be like that. Because of that, we just don't negotiate. And to tell you a story, I used to be a manager who hire people. And I had 3 people that I need to hire for 3 posts. It was very easy. I was going to hire the 3 of them, same amount of money for the 3 of them. I offered them the same. Guess who came back to me asking me for more? The men. We don't ask. We just simply don't ask. And I have many examples of that. And working hard for the money. We have to chase the money. We have to hustle, work hard, and all the stories of working hard. We have to go for the money, and the money is difficult. Money doesn't grow on trees. All these associations, what do all these associations of money doesn't grow on trees? I am not that kind of negotiator. I am, whatever you associate yourself. I am not corrupt, and I'm not violent. I am not a gold digger. I am not a prostitute. All this is what keeping us away from having money. So who am I and why I'm talking to you? Well, I'm not a billionaire. I'm also grateful to Forrest Sam, who has found this subject of money, because has found that it's highly linked with your emotional intelligence, that is highly linked with your non-supportive or non-supportive beliefs of what happens within. And of course, because I have a story of money. So I tell you my story of money. My story of money is that I grew up, that's not me, but that could have been, as a rather wealthy little girl who didn't have any worry in the world. I was in private school all my childhood, traveling wherever I wanted, beautiful swimming pools, and a gardener and a cook and a nanny and the whole thing. And at home it was, the traditional thing. The father is the provider and the mother is beautiful. So that was the deal at home. And of course, that deal many times was wrong. So my parents ended up separating, and my mother ended up quite badly financially. And that happened around my 18th birthday. And guess what happened to me? I had to go and get my first job. My very first job was cleaning the floor. And can you imagine that this little girl with jewelry and nanny and gardener goes and cleans the floor? That was quite a shock for me. And really to understand that I didn't want to be like my mother. I didn't want to be sweet and beautiful and accommodating, and least of all depend on a man. So what did I do? I studied. I studied and I studied very, very much. There was never enough. I did my languages, I did a master's, I did another master's. Of course, that catapulted me in the world of the corporate world. Really easily, I was the boss. And in this photo, I find it great that they took this photo of me smoking a cigar. I used to smoke cigars and drink champagne and talk about how the next whatever numbers of millions of euros were going to be spent, invested, or whatever, because I was the boss. I was really the picture perfect of that movie, of that has this quote, "Greed is good." Horrible. I belong to the establishment. I belong to the system in which you are in a corporate situation and you have one reason of existence is to maximize profit. And that was all. So that meant that the only thing that I have in my life was my job. Nothing else. Nothing else. I didn't even have a cat at home. I have a bad relationship with my father, with my mother, with my sister. I didn't have friends really. I had friends who were my buddies to get drunk in the weekend because, of course, I was addicted to. I didn't get into drugs, but I was drinking quite a lot, and I was addicted to work. So I hear some noise, so I'm going to mute you if please. So I said, oh, this is enough. I want a different way of living life. And I figured I really want to get out of this world because I want something more meaningful. And I left that world to have meaningful conversations. So I went to have meaningful conversations, and oh my God, I was the closest you can be to a hippie. I went to study coaching and did meditation and traveled to those mountains and to those other mountains. And I would, see the light, and I just spent all the money that I earned before. And suddenly I saw that I had to spend my savings. And I realized that there must be a balance between these two extremes. My family had a lot of money, lost it. I made a lot of money in corporate, lost it. I figured that I wanted to know what was behind these ups and downs to be able not only to have my bank account to be stable and to grow for my old age, but to share it for my daughter, because I really care about ladies, but to share it for the future, because, well, you will see it more with the content, because it's slightly different how money is related to men than to women. So now I have dedicated all the knowledge that I have of the MBA, of the corporate world, of making money, with all that knowledge that I acquired when I became a hippie. Because both things can be integrated to have conscious money making, which is the only way we are basically going to save the planet. That's the only way we're going to be able to have an economy that is not destroying, the jungle, that is not destroying the oceans, that is not destroying the health of children, etc. So what's our today's agenda? Our today's agenda is very simple. We're going to talk about what's the problem, what is the cause, and what is, from my point of view, the solution. So the problem is basically we are divided. We can be either the goody-goody or we can be the wicked one. So I was the goody-goody, the hippie who was a coach and gave her services for free because coaching is so good that I can give it for free. My mother was the goody-goody who was with my father, just being beautiful and sweet, just so nice, taking care of the children, so good. Or you can be the wicked one, like me. I was greedy, I was ambitious, I was, the boss, and I had expensive car. There's no other way. Either you are goody-goody or you are the wicked witch. So, of course, I already told you that I studied an MBA at RSM. And as you studied it, or as you are following it right now, we are all traumatized and we all think about 2x2 matrices. Therefore, I created my own 2x2 matrix. And this is my 2x2 matrix about money and happiness, power and meaning. So imagine that all the slide is a 2x2 matrix. In the horizontal axis, you have power, money, power, money. So if you go all the way to the right, you have these, you know, diamonds and pearls and cars and that. Okay. And if you go up, then you have the happiness and love and spiritual enlightenment and community with the divine and being a mother and being in love, you know. So what happens when we are having little of both things? That is when we have a job that is, you know, boring, but pays the bills. Doesn't really ask me to change the world, but I can pay the rent. So you don't really make a lot of money. You don't really put your soul into it. And for me, this is the stage in which you are asleep. In terms of consciousness, I will say that is when we are unconscious of our oneness. That is for imagine a fetus in the womb of the mother. The fetus is one with the mother, but he doesn't know it. So you are feeding yourself happiness and money, but you are kind of asleep and you are really not making an impact in the world, in your bank account, or in your happiness. And so many people just stay in this place forever. They go to work on Monday, to a job they don't like. On Friday, they're so happy that the work finished, and they go to the pub, just, you know, day after day, day in, day out, day in and day out. They don't stick their neck out for anything. They don't contribute in really major changes. It's really almost like a plant, very minimal, the impact that you are making in life. Then it comes the women that are tough, the women who want to break the mold, the women who want to get in the top corporations, and the ones who wear the suit. For me, are those women like the ones that we were portrayed as the great heroines, the 80s women, with the suit that was basically a suit of a man, the pinstripe suit, and the hair pulled back or cut, and forget about makeup, and really tough women, aggressive, the ones that, you know, I was one of them, more or less the one that you saw, the smoking cigars and firing people. Imagine the Donald Trumpian woman, oh, you're fired, really more manly than men. You have seen those ones, the ones who bully other women, and they are there. So, and I have been there, you know. You fall in that when you wake up from this sleep. You go into, I want to do something of my life. This is not what I want. Let's say this was my mother, so I don't want to go there. And then you get tired of that because you get ill and you don't get friends and you don't really get the impact. And okay, you have another beautiful dress, but you know, you cannot wear all those dresses. You cannot drink cotton bottles of champagne. You cannot travel to another place. So then you go to the hippie. And this is, I also call it the Virgin Mary, that you're so goody-goody, and then you don't ask for money, and then you go broke. And here I see many coaches, trainers, people who work in sustainability and diversity, people who have a lot of good intentions, but are not making money. What we need to do is to go to this fourth quadrant, where we have both. And now, of course, you are going to say that this feels really like a huge contradiction. Because how can I be a kick-ass woman and be sweet? Well, you actually are. You can say no with a smile, and you can help and charge money. And this feels so contradictory, not just because, not just for fun, and it's not superficially contradictory, it's profoundly contradictory. It's profoundly contradictory because there are centuries of history in which you can be just the archetype of the Virgin Mary, or the archetype of the prostitute, or the archetype of the man. So that is why it's so difficult to go there. So what we feel is that we feel totally divided by all these demands. Look at the burnout rate of women around 25 years old. Here in the Netherlands, the burnout rate is staggering in that bracket, because that's a moment when they are pulled to in these axes. You have to have a child, you have to study your PhD, you have to have international experience, you have to ask for your raise. So the woman just basically goes crazy. That's huge reason behind burnout. So we go through life just accelerating, braking, because we don't know how to manage this relationship, this identity. What's the cause? The cause is, historically, that the consciousness and our self-concept has changed dramatically, has changed, has been divided, has been splitted in the past 4,000 years. Before, we were Gaia. And Gaia is all there is. The consciousness that nature, the creator and the creation were one. So there was no private property, there was no poverty, there was no money. We all own everything. There were no doors, there were no fences, there was no government, because everything was from everybody, and everybody was from the earth and from the universe. That was the time of Gaia, the time of being unconscious of being one, just like I was saying, like a fetus in the womb of the mother. We were in that unconsciousness. And then, just as that's in my model, we go from this quadrant on the left, right, to the quadrant on the, sorry, left, right, on the bottom left to the quadrant in the bottom right, when it, everything explodes. And the consciousness is no longer Gaia, but you have the above and below, the man and the woman. You have the haves and have-nots, the sky and the water, and it just all gets divided. And now here I put the Greek and Roman gods, but you can see it in every single culture, that from one central idea of divine got divided in different ideas of what represented power, if you wish. So before it was truly feminine, the water. Now at this stage, Poseidon is the god of the water. So things are starting to get confused, men and women, and we started to get divided. Until we get to this archetype, the archetype of Mary. Mary, who is just so good, so sweet, that gives birth to God. And gives birth to God being a virgin. In other words, being sexual is out of the question. So that way we're like stripped of all the other powers of being a woman. This Gaia didn't have any problem with being feminine. She didn't have any problem with the breast, because the breast was abundance. That was what was really the money, the wealth, the breast, the milk, the infinite abundance. And now, don't talk about sex. Women that want to be divine, they should behave at least like a virgin. And if this is just so powerful, we were one with the creation, we went to paradise, and thanks because Eve wanted to be conscious, because she wanted to eat the fruit of the knowledge, we were kicked out from paradise. So we were taken away from wealth, and now you have to work. So we have the guilt forever that the woman is guilty of work, of the hustle. I'm going to come back to that with the hustle. So this is the name, and of course I'm just explaining you two archetypes. This one of Mary and Eve and Mary. But there are other archetypes like Lilith, the first woman of Adam, who was very interested in sex. So this concept of the prostitute that I was talking about before. And the other concept of the women who feel so disappointed on these few archetypes that they say, well, the only other option that I have is to behave like a man, just like I did. So the other reason why this is happening to us is nature. Do you know that in each one of your cells of your beautiful body, there is DNA? So in each cell of your body, you have DNA of the past 7 generations of your family. So that means that you, me, your neighbor, we have the Second World War here, the First World War, we have drownings, we have hangings, we have rapes, we have loads of trauma of all the previous generations. So all the trauma of my mother, why she did not ask for money, why didn't she believe that she could deserve money, is in my cells. The relationship that my great-grandmother had with money is in my cells. My great-great-grandmother also, the same happens to you. So to be able for me to have a good relationship with money, we need to change 4,000 years of these inherited beliefs. And I'm not talking about beliefs of what your parents taught you at home, but things that they were not even aware, things that are really genetically in your genes. And now is that. Now I talk about the things that we tell our children. So what we tell our children becomes their inner voice. Now I know, and now I notice it, you know, it's so sad. Well, so sad, I don't know. My mother passed away in February, and I'm a mom. I see repeating same words, same 10 sentences that my mother said to my children. And I'm not going to say that. But we tend to repeat the same thing that the previous generation taught us. And sometimes we tell it to ourselves, sometimes we tell it to others. But that chain is what keeps us chained with our poor financial results. Okay, so the solution. Well, the solution It's I like this image very much, and this is just based in the work of Carl Jung. Is the integration of, he called it our shadow. Our shadow is these things that we don't want to see. Like we want to be goody goody, so we never want to be the bitch. We never want to be the prostitute. We never want to be the gold digger. We don't want to be all those negative things because we have been told that being the prostitute is bad. We have been told that the gold digger is bad. And all these we have been relegated because we want to be good. And being good also is very specific to what it means to be good. Like working hard is good. Like not accepting money from a man is good. Like, you know, I make the list. So this means a lot to me, to integrate yourself with your dragon. You know, the dragon is actually feminine. And the dragon is your shadow. And I hope you dream about your dragon today. And you dream that your dragon is your friend. And she carries you and takes you much faster, more harmoniously than any other way. Because when you think yourself as just you are very weak. When you think about with that power that is beyond you, then you become that power that is beyond you. So this is this for me means a lot, and it's very interesting because Carl Jung was a psychologist, an Austrian psychologist, and you could argue, well, this guy is a psychologist. He is not a scientist of the ones that put electrodes in your head or the ones that have a telescope or the physicist. But it is fascinating to me that what he said has been proven by other sciences, by biology, epigenetics, by brain research, by quantum physics. So this is not woo stuff of hippies. This is really scientific stuff with loads of science behind it, with hormones, with equations. There is a lot of science behind the integration of two things that appear contradictory. Just think about how the universe has been now understood, that you have matter and antimatter, and how light is understood, that is neither a wave or a particle. It depends on the observer. So if you want to change the way you make money, so you are a tree and you want to have fruits, you want to change the things that you don't see. You want to change how you think. Because if you keep thinking the way you're thinking, you are going to keep getting the very same results that you are getting. And we don't want that, because we want you to be reasonably wealthy or reasonably comfortable for when you reach old age. So these are the three things that explains behavior. It doesn't matter which psychology you use, the psychologists will go to these three things. So I can tell you behavior, you have to start with behavior. Okay, girls, I give you a list of what to do. Read the book of Tony Robbins on money, read the book of Think and Grow Rich of Napoleon Hill on money, and then you're sorted. Okay, bye. Well, that's not good enough, because you have to work with your thoughts and with your feelings. Just in pure information is not going to transform you. You have to do the three things. You have to work in your behavior. You have to save. You have to work in your thinking. You have to start changing how you think. You have to work on your feelings. Oh, Blanca cannot work in my feelings. My feelings are accidental. Well, we could argue that's true, that we feel sad or happy or whatever we feel accidentally. But I can tell you, if you start thinking better, you will feel better. So at the very least, there are two things that you can change: your thoughts and your behavior. So we're going to be talking about how to change your thoughts and your behavior. So to change your thoughts and your behavior, you are going to use as parameter your feelings. If you are feeling in an upward spiral, so you're content and you get more hopeful and you get optimistic, and then before you know it, you are in pure joy. When you are there, you are in what the scientists call it coherence. Then your brain waves, your heart waves, and your gut waves are coherent. So you're going to be just shocked of things that happened. I can tell you that I'm organizing an event of money mindset. I wrote my sales page and I plan to launch it on Monday. But I was super happy. Sunday, I was playing with my children. I was really happy. I was in pure joy. Guess what? Somebody bought. So it's very interesting. When you are in that world of appreciation, of enthusiasm, of positivity, money is going to come from you from unexpected places. Why? Because of what I'm telling you. Quantum physics, matter, and T-matter synchronicity. Your feelings tell you where you have to go. Instead, if you're going in the downward spiral, oh, I'm bored, I'm going to this job, it's so, I don't know. Certainly, blame. Blame, please don't stay people with blame, because of course, when we talk about pay gap, we blame. Oh, is the blame of the government? Is the blame of men? Is the blame of my mother? Is it, you know, somebody is to blame? It's somebody else's fault. So that's really bad. That's really bad, because it just brings you down. If you are in any of these feelings from 8 to, of course, 22, you really have to do something to get out of there. If you are in the left spiral, you almost don't have to do anything. You just have to continue. But if you are in a downward spiral, you have to stop it and you have to start doing something else. So if you are going up in the spiral, you are in coherence. And what does it mean, coherence? And I found this explanation that I love it. Coherence is in the left and decoherence is in the right. And this is the way physicists explain quantum physics. So heads and tails as a one reality is coherent, meaning that you can be an absolutely adorable woman and be wealthy. And decoherence is in the right, heads and tails. Just heads can happen, or just tails can happen. You just can be nice and broke, or wealthy and horrible. So when you enter in this world of coherence, you can have them both at the same time. So what is coherence, Blanca? Well, coherence is electromagnetism. Who takes care of your electromagnetic pulse in your body? You will have said, oh man, Blanca, the brain is really powerful electromagnetically. Well, I can tell you that the big guy in electromagnetism in your body is your beautiful heart. We have three brains. We have the brain in our head, we have the brain in our heart, and we have the brain in our gut. And scientists have proven that is precisely how the ancients used to say it, that the brain gives us imagination, the creativity, the heart gives us the compassion and the love, and the gut gives you the courage to go for it. So we have been using them wrongly. And particularly, we have been taking the heart out of the equation. I'll give you an example. When you have coherent your head and your gut, you end up with wonderful, super efficient solutions. So think about the Nazis. Perfect way to kill millions of people, the gas chambers, highly creative, highly courageous to get it done. Was it compassionate? Well, it wasn't. And that way, of course, it sounds very radical. Oh my God, the Nazis, what an example. But take all the other examples of how we are destroying the planet. We are killing the habitats of so many animals because we want to make money. That's the reason why we need women to connect to their heart, their brain, and their gut to be at the most creative, compassionate, and courageous to create business ideas and business solutions and business decisions to change the business environment. And when we do that, we are healthier and we are more powerful. We create coherence within and we create coherence without. It has been measured that when you do this, you create a field of 3 meters. So when more people are being coherent together, then you get better decision making together and it starts expanding. I invite you to check it. It's a Project Coherence. There are wonderful people involved, particularly the people who have created these images. That is a Heart Math Institute. And also I can share with you the interview that I made to one of the founders so that you get even more the science. But the point is, when you make coherent your heart, your head, your heart, and your gut, you are tapping into a higher intelligence that will allow you to take actions that are really precise and powerful for you and for everybody else. So this way, we are going to have what I call conscious money. So this will allow you to see what it will be your picture of success. What does it mean for you to be successful? When you are coherent in the 3 brains, you will be able to see what is the future for you. You see, I didn't realize that that happened to me, but when I left that job, I saw that when I connected to my future, I was able to let go of that job because it was just okay. It was not bad, paid me quite well, people were quite nice, but I was not having the impact that I wanted to have in the world. So when you connect with this system, it will expand you and it will guide you towards the right decisions for a happier and more successful life. So how to do it? How to do it? The best way to do it is to be appreciative. Be appreciative of every single thing that happens to you, especially the things that you love the most. And this is really powerful because, you know, it's said by all the scientists that I'm talking to you about, and it's said by Warren Buffett. So if you want to be wealthy, be grateful today. If you want to keep struggling, keep looking at the differences and the injustices that are attacking you. So when you're starting them from your heart, sending appreciation to all your reality, when you're sending gratitude to all your reality, you are going to get more So those are the most important things for me, but the inner part. But that is empty if you don't put it together with something outside. You have to change your environment. I love that episode of Sex and the City when Carrie realizes that that her financial well-being is crap, because she realizes that she has spent all her money in beautiful shoes, and for the rest, doesn't have a house, doesn't have investments, doesn't have anything, but she has shoes. Why? Because of the company that she has been keeping. So have you noticed, and really take your mobile phone and look who are the people who you hang out the most with. Are they people who are kind, honest, funny? Are they people who get drunk, who lie, who complain, who gossip, who blame? It's just incredible. I used to hang out with these girls who were overweight. I was overweight. Now now all my friends are thin. It's just crazy. I used to hang out with people who hated their job. Now I hang out with just entrepreneurs. It's just insane. When you have a vision of who you want to become, start hanging out with people who are that representation. Start a mastermind. This is just the best way of making money come to your reality. Who had a mastermind? Steve Jobs, who had a mastermind, Ford, just Vanderbilt. Think about any wealthy person that you can think of had a mastermind. I am in a mastermind as a participant, and I manage masterminds. And my financial reality is just changing because I am not hanging out anymore with people who are behaving poorly. Because when do you become poor? When you spend money. When do you become wealthy? Is when you invest money. How do you invest money? In books, in experiences, in learning, in businesses. So I want more women to be wealthy. Do this step. When you do this step and you actually start with your group realizing the transformation, you're going to do the work that I told you before of the meditation, the tapping into the field of consciousness, the expanding your heart coherence, and changing your environment. And finally, I want to tell you about epigenetics. Epigenetics is to change your genes. And this is about taking action. So taking action is buying that book, buying that course, or attending this webinar. Epigenetics is you and me, or let's say, if think that this guy is the same person, and in the left, he followed the habits of his Coca-Cola from early childhood, and he ends up very ill. And in the right, you see the other person who is drinking his orange juice, and you see that in the future, his future is quite different. So whatever you do about money compounds. If you save, it compounds. If you invest, it compounds. If you change your money mindset, it compounds and changes your genes. So if you are not sufficiently motivated by changing your financial future, be motivated by changing the financial mindset of your children and your grandchildren and great-grandchildren, because whatever you do will have impact for the next generations. So, and now, well, now I have many other things to tell you, or maybe you're motivated to have a conversation with me. If you are a conversation, if you want to have individual time with me, you can write me here, blancavergara.com/yes. But of course, I can. We can have a conversation right now. So if you have a question, a comment, a specific situation, just feel free to ask. Okay, so Victoria says, what is the rainy day fund? The rainy day fund is basically money that you save just in case. So I recommend that we have different bank accounts. So the bank account that we use for the different, if you wish, buckets. One bucket that you use for just expenses like food and house, fine. Then you know the things that repeat all the time. That you make a budget for your play money, that is a concert or a book of a novel. Another bucket that is for education, that you make a budget for books and seminars and that kind of thing. And you make a budget, of course, for whenever it will go wrong. So this is your what if something will go wrong fund. And that is not for play, and that is not for, oh, I forgot that it was a birthday off, because birthdays you already know. So don't cheat yourself. Is if your car broke down. In my case, my mother was very ill before she died. We had a fund of the fund to go to Mexico if that was needed. That is the rainy day fund. And there is another budget that is very important to mention, that leads me to that, that your question inspires me to say, is the Financial Freedom Fund. Ideally, you should be retiring before you need to retire, or as soon as possible if you wish. And how do you do that? By depositing money in your Financial Freedom Fund. And we normally don't do that. So start thinking about it. Start depositing money in an account where you will not take money out. Not take money out at all. And you see, there is another thing that is very interesting, and that's something that I'm fascinated about, is that some people save money for their children, for their school, for the university, for when they will get married, for whatever. And there are people who don't, because you see, I did not mention make a fund for your children. This is a decision. So this is an option. You can likely not save money for your children, but educate them on how to make money. That's a huge mindset shift. So it's just leave it to them, for you to think about it, for the mothers that are in the call. Are you going to save money for your children, or better let them swim? So what's do you have another question, comment?
Hi, Blanca.
Yeah.
Thank you for your webinar. I have the question, how we can make a mindset change tomorrow, for instance. So if now we are going to sleep and tomorrow we are waking up, what is the first thing or thinking we have to change?
Okay, there are two habits that are very powerful to have. Meditation practice before you go to bed. Meditation practice as you wake up in the morning. The brain works differently in both occasions because one is going to sleep and you can take advantage of that. So when you're going to sleep, you can ask for answers. So you're going to sleep and you think about gratitude. I am so grateful that this day went so well. I'm so grateful that my children are so healthy. I'm so grateful it rained today because we made soup. I'm so grateful. You go that way, and then you ask your question. I really would like to know how to X. So, and you can ask this question just like that, or you can ask this question specifically, like you can ask the question to Edison. Edison, if you were me and you had this wonderful new technology, how would you get funding? And you just go to bed. And then what you have to have is, of course, a notebook close to your bed and write that down. Write down what it comes, because you're going to be surprised of the answers that you're going to get. I've been using this method for quite a while, and the answers are very interesting. They say, send this email to this person, call that person. It's very specifically. My customers get it also very specifically. Watch the television, call this person, read this book. So that's the night. So the night, if you wish, is problem solving, because that's how the brain works the best. And in the morning, the best is to connect to try. I think the best is that I will make a meditation for you. But how it looks is, see and notice that there is no difference between you and everything that there is. So when we keep a habit because our body is used to the habit that we keep. So I keep eating sugar because I am in habit of eating sugar. I don't ask for more money because I have been in the habit of not asking money. So to break that habit, we have to stop identifying ourselves with ourselves. So in the morning, to stop identifying yourself with yourself, you can imagine that there is no limit. So you can start imagining that you are in space and there is no limit between you and everything there is. And the more you start imagining that there is no limit, then you are going to start finding those answers. And it's just fascinating, the results that people that use this method are getting. They are getting financial results, health results, business results. Is very powerful. So I repeat, stop identifying ourselves with our limitations, with our body, with our habits. And what's fascinating is that you don't need to start thinking what is what you desire. You don't even need that. So that's a morning habit, and it's very powerful.
Thank you, Blanca.
You're welcome. So cool. Do we have another question? Okay. Okay, so yeah, if you're curious to know more about this, you can go to my website, blancavergara.com, and if you think, oh, I really want to go deeper because I see that I have a money pattern that is stopping me from being the happiest and wealthiest that I can be, just come to blancavergara.com/yes, and then we have a chat and then see how I can help you. So I guess we close, Jara?
Yes, thank you very much, Blanca.
Thank you, everybody. Have a nice evening. Bye.
Bye.